Welcome to World Alert Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. Dateline, Washington, October 26, 2025. The world's attention is fixed on the unfolding drama between two global giants. The world is holding its breath as the US and China face off in a new era of rivalry, one that is reshaping the global landscape in real time. What began as a partnership of convenience has become a tense, high-stakes contest, with both sides wary and determined to assert their vision for the future. Headlines now scream of tariffs, tech bans, and military posturing, as each nation seeks to outmaneuver the other on every front. The old dream of peaceful integration is gone. China is now a formidable competitor, playing by its own rules and setting its own pace for progress. The question is no longer if China will challenge the global order, but how and when it will seek to reshape it to its advantage. Years of policy decisions, missed opportunities, and unintended consequences have led us to this pivotal moment in history. The West once believed economic engagement would liberalize China, but that assumption is being tested as China charts its own course. American capital and know-how helped fuel China's rise, but in doing so, also built its greatest rival, one that now competes on every level. Now, policymakers scramble to understand a nation that mirrors America's industrial past, but with a state-driven, futuristic twist that defies old expectations. The comfortable narrative of a dominant America and a dependent China is obsolete, replaced by a new reality of fierce competition and uncertainty. Competition now spans semiconductors, AI, green energy, and global influence, with each breakthrough shifting the balance of power. The stakes are immense, not just for the superpowers, but for the world, as every nation feels the ripple effects of this rivalry. The US must now confront the consequences of its own success in shaping China, and reckon with the new challenges that have emerged. This is the story of a transformation that will define the 21st century, a contest whose outcome will shape the future for generations to come. Not long ago, American corporations and China enjoyed a golden era of commercial synergy, a time when optimism and ambition seemed limitless on both sides of the Pacific. US companies saw China as a vast market and a source of cheap, skilled labor, a formula for explosive growth that promised to reshape the global economy. Apple designed iPhones in California but built them in China, scaling production to unprecedented levels and dominating the global smartphone market. Chinese partners like Foxconn became industrial giants in their own right, mastering complex manufacturing processes and setting new standards for efficiency. Tesla too found opportunity. China built its Shanghai Gigafactory in record time, opening the world's largest EV market and giving Tesla a crucial foothold in Asia. This model spread across industries, retail, tech, manufacturing, all rushing into China, eager to tap into its booming economy and vast consumer base. The partnership seemed perfectly balanced: profits for Americans, growth for China. Both sides believed they were building a future of shared prosperity. Wall Street cheered, consumers benefited, and optimism reigned as new products and opportunities flooded the market. But beneath the surface, American companies were transferring knowledge and technology, teaching future competitors, often without realizing the long-term consequences. Few saw the risks. The rewards were too great, and the pace of progress too exhilarating to pause for reflection. The focus was always on the next product, the next market, the next big breakthrough that would keep the momentum going. The idea that China would use this knowledge to build its own champions seemed remote, almost unthinkable to many at the time. In retrospect, this golden age was built on a fragile foundation, vulnerable to shifts in ambition and strategy. As China's ambitions grew, the balance shifted, and the lines between partner and rival began to blur. The seeds of rivalry were sown in the very success of this partnership, setting the stage for a new era of competition and uncertainty. In 2018, the era of unchecked optimism between the US and China ended abruptly, sending shockwaves through global markets and boardrooms alike. The Trump administration declared the old model broken, shifting focus from economic partnership to national security, and signaling a fundamental change in US policy. The US accused China of unfair practices, IP theft, forced tech transfers, and state subsidies, alleging that these actions threatened American innovation and jobs. Tariffs escalated, but the real turning point was restricting China's access to advanced semiconductors, a move that struck at the heart of China's tech ambitions. Huawei was cut off from American tech, signaling a new era of technological warfare, and making it clear that no company was immune. The message was unmistakable. America would use its tech dominance to slow China's rise, leveraging its strengths in software, hardware, and research. Restrictions targeted not just one company but China's entire next-gen tech ecosystem from AI to 5G, casting a shadow over its future growth. The global supply chain fractured. Companies worldwide were forced to choose sides, weighing profits against politics in an increasingly divided world. For U.S. firms reliant on China, the rules changed overnight, forcing them to rethink sourcing, strategy, and even their long-term survival. The logic was clear. China's Made in China 2025 plan threatened U.S. supremacy in critical industries, from robotics to biotech. The restrictions were a defensive move to preserve America's edge, aiming to protect national security and maintain technological leadership. But it was a high-stakes gamble, with risks for both economies and the entire global order. By weaponizing technology, the U.S. sent a clear message: China, you're on your own, and the rules of engagement had changed for good. This provoked a powerful reaction in Beijing, fueling nationalism and a drive for self-reliance in critical technologies. The era of friendly engagement was over, replaced by suspicion and strategic competition. A new, more dangerous phase of rivalry had begun, with the world watching as two superpowers drew their lines in the sand. Beijing saw U.S. tech restrictions as an existential threat and responded with a massive push for self-reliance. Independence became the rallying cry of government, industry, and society. China poured billions into domestic semiconductors, software, and AI startups. The state mobilized resources, streamlined regulations, and offered tax breaks to strategic sectors. Universities expanded STEM programs, and top Chinese scientists were lured home with major incentives. Vocational training upskilled the workforce for the factories of the future. The old model of importing and adapting foreign tech was replaced by a drive to invent and build at home. Core technologies, leaders declared, could not be bought. They had to be developed domestically. The American sanctions meant to cripple China instead sparked a fierce determination. China was no longer just playing the globalization game, it was preparing to write new rules. The mission technological independence at any cost. The world would soon see the results. China's push for self-reliance triggered a breathtaking industrial transformation. In electric vehicles, companies like BYD and NIO leapt ahead, mastering batteries and software. China became the world's largest EV producer and exporter. The shift extended to heavy industry and infrastructure, nuclear power, high-speed rail, and renewable energy. Homegrown tech, like advanced nuclear reactors, positioned China as a global leader. STEM education paid off. China produced twice as many engineers as the US, fueling innovation. Chinese firms made rapid progress in chip design and mature node production, reducing reliance on foreign suppliers. Despite pressure, Huawei rolled out the world's largest 5G network. China landed a rover on Mars and built its own space station. Each achievement signaled a new ambition, not just to catch up, but to lead. The world's attention was on China's past, but its future was being built at breakneck speed. The Industrial Revolution 2.0 was real, and global competitors were taking notice. China was no longer content to follow. As China transformed its industry, Western media fixated on its real estate crisis. Stories of collapsing property giants and ghost cities dominated headlines. The narrative, a looming financial crisis, would cripple China's growth, but this focus missed a bigger story: China's pivot from real estate to advanced manufacturing and green tech. Money and talent once spent on apartments now fueled factories, labs, and solar farms. While the West watched unfinished housing, China cornered the global market for solar panels, wind turbines, and EV batteries. This was not a bubble, but a strategic industrial conquest. Western analysts underestimated China's adaptability and resilience. The real estate woes were real, but the industrial surge was transformative. When China's new might became obvious, it shocked the world. The West had been watching the wrong story. As China's industrial reinvention accelerated, COVID-19 plunged the world into crisis. Borders closed, travel stopped, and the world lost sight of what was happening inside China. The pandemic masked China's transformation. Factories kept running while others shut down. China solidified its role as the world's workshop, meeting surging global demand. During this global distraction, China's industrial output in key sectors soared. Meanwhile, Western narratives grew more hostile, making objective analysis difficult. When China reopened in 2023, returning visitors were stunned by its progress. The country they left was reliant on Western tech. The one they found was a global competitor. The world had looked away, and China had quietly remade itself. The transformation was profound, and few in the West saw it coming. The US now faces a profound dilemma: how to deal with a powerful independent China. Should it escalate confrontation, risking economic and geopolitical fallout, or seek managed competition and selective cooperation? A purely adversarial approach could devastate iconic US companies still reliant on China. Beijing could retaliate, squeezing out American firms and destabilizing global markets. Allies in Europe and Asia are wary of choosing sides. The global South sees China as a vital partner. Aggressive US moves could isolate Washington, not Beijing, yet cooperation is fraught with challenges. How to protect security while engaging economically on issues like climate change and pandemics. US-China cooperation is essential. A confrontational path risks economic damage and paralyzes global progress. The stakes for America and the world could not be higher. As of late 2025, the US has not chosen a clear direction on China. Policy is a confusing mix: adversarial rhetoric and tech bans, but deep commercial ties remain. The Pentagon pushes for containment, while Wall Street seeks profitable peace. This duality creates uncertainty for businesses and allies alike. Companies are told to reduce China exposure, but profits still depend on the Chinese market. Allies wonder, does America want to contain China, or just cut a better deal? The lack of a coherent strategy undermines US credibility and leadership. This indecision risks the worst of both worlds, provoking China without halting its rise, while eroding trust and stability. America stands at a fork in the road, but tries to walk both paths at once. The result: confusion, division, and potential damage to US interests and the global order. The world waits for America to choose its path.